Smirk.
Oh, Timmy boy, I thought you'd never ask.
To be perfectly honest, I found it. Well, I mean, it was all right. It had its moments, but overall, it just didn't really blow me away. The storyline felt a bit too cliche for me, and the characters were just okay. I think, they could have done better with the character development, you know. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, shall we? Timothy, what did you think about this film? Did it hit any sweet spots for you? Or was it just a big old letdown?
Well, Tom, I must say, I found your assessment quite. Well, you know how it is with us old folks. We tend to enjoy a good old-fashioned superhero story. And this film certainly delivered on that front, didn't it? It was like watching the golden age of comics come alive in animated form. But seriously, dear Thomas, I thought the plot was well crafted with just the right amount of action and humor to keep me entertained from start to finish. The storyline, while maybe not entirely original, was executed well enough to hold my attention throughout. As for the characters, I found them to be quite relatable and engaging. Mr. Incredible struggles with being a hero in hiding resonated deeply with me, as I too had to put aside my love for audio engineering when the BBC decided to move on from analog recording methods. And Elastigirl, she was simply fantastic. Her ability to adapt to any situation and her unwavering support for her family made her one of my favorite superheroine characters ever. Now, don't get me wrong, there were a few moments where the CGI wasn't quite up to par with today's standards, but I think that adds to the film's charm. Wouldn't you agree? It's like a trip back to the simpler times of animation when we didn't need thousands of pixels and ray tracing to be amazed by what was on screen. So, Thomas, while we might not see eye to eye on this one, I must say that I thoroughly enjoyed The Incredibles and would happily watch it again. Now, my dear American friend, I'm curious about something. What do you think about the film's sound design? It's a little-known fact that I had the honor of working on the sound mix for the UK release. Any thoughts on how they captured the essence of the era with their audio choices?
Well, Timothy, my old chum, I must say your passion for this film is, admirable. But perhaps a bit misplaced. While the sound design was decent enough to transport me back to the 1960s, it didn't really stand out in any particularly memorable way, did it? I mean, sure, they nailed that retro-futuristic vibe with all those cool gadgets and classic cars, but when it came to the soundtrack, it was just, well, it was fine. It served its purpose, but it didn't leave me humming any tunes after the credits rolled, you know? As for the sound mix, I'm no sound engineer, but I did notice a few moments where the dialogue seemed slightly muffled or difficult to understand, especially when things got loud and chaotic during the action scenes. But hey, I'm not here to nitpick, am I? So what about you, Timmy boy? Any hidden gems or behind-the-scenes tidbits you want to share with our viewers today?
Well, Thomas, my dear friend, I must admit that you have piqued my interest with your mention of sound design. As an audio technician myself, I couldn't help but notice the attention to detail put into recreating the soundscape of the era. From the crackling radios and rotary phones to the whirring machinery and honking horns, the team behind the sound design truly captured the essence of the 1960s. And let's not forget about the iconic theme song composed by the legendary Danny Elfman. It perfectly sets the tone for the entire film, blending elements of jazz and rockabilly with a touch of superhero bravado. As for the special effects, while they may not have been groundbreaking at the time of release, they still hold up quite well today. The animators masterfully brought the characters to life, infusing them with enough cartoonish charm to appeal to younger audiences while maintaining a sense of realism that made them believable on screen. The action sequences, particularly those involving the superheroes' powers, were seamlessly integrated into the CG-heavy environments, creating thrilling and visually stunning moments that left me eagerly awaiting the sequel.
Well, Tim, my old chap, you certainly seem to have a soft spot for this film, don't you? But I must admit, Your passion for the sound design and special effects is quite infectious. Although I still stand by my original assessment of the film being just okay, it's hard not to admire the attention to detail put into recreating the era's audio landscape. And while we're on the topic of the team behind the scenes, I must commend Pixar for their continued ability to blend humor and heart-wrenching moments seamlessly. The storylines they craft never fail to tug at my heartstrings, even after multiple viewings. As for the special effects, while they may not have been groundbreaking at the time of release, they still hold up quite well today. The animators masterfully brought the characters to life, infusing them with enough cartoonish charm to appeal to younger audiences while maintaining a sense of realism that made them believable on screen. The action sequences, particularly those involving the superheroes' powers, were seamlessly integrated into the CG-heavy environments, creating thrilling and visually stunning moments that left me eagerly awaiting the sequel. Now, Timothy dear, before we wrap up this delightful discussion of The Incredibles, I must ask you something. What do you make of, the actors' portrayals of their respective characters? For example, how did Craig T. Nelson bring Mr. Incredible to life? And what about Holly Hunter as Elastigirl? Did they capture the essence of these beloved comic book characters on screen?
Well, Tom, my dear friend, I must admit that you've hit on a very interesting topic indeed. Craig T. Nelson, who brought Mr. Incredible to life, truly embodied the character's complex nature. He captured the hero's reluctance to abandon his calling while also portraying his inner struggle with age and the burden of responsibility that comes with being a superhero. His deep, resonant voice perfectly conveyed Mr. Incredible's strength, determination, and occasional doubt. As for Holly Hunter as Elastigirl, she brought an unparalleled sense of grace and resilience to the role. Her ability to adapt to any situation, whether it be stretching to incredible lengths or quickly returning to her normal size, was masterfully portrayed by both the animators and herself. Their chemistry on screen was palpable, with subtle moments of humor and affection punctuating their heroic endeavors. The supporting cast, including Spencer Fox as the ever-optimistic and eager to please Mr. Incredible's sidekick Dash, and Samuel L. Jackson as the wisecracking and cool-headed superhero Mr. Fantastic, all delivered memorable performances that further enhanced the film's overall charm and appeal. Overall, I think Pixar struck gold with their casting choices for The Incredibles, bringing these beloved comic book characters to life in a way that both honored their origins while also breathing new life into them for a modern audience.
Well said, Timothy, my old chap. And I must admit, your passion for this film is infectious. If only more modern superhero movies would take cues from the casting choices and character development found in The Incredibles instead of rehashing tired tropes and over-sexualized costumes. But enough of my ranting. Let's return to our cultural significance discussion, shall we? Timothy, as someone who has seen countless films and TV shows set in the mid-20th century, what do you make of Pixar's portrayal of this era? Do they capture the essence of the 1960s accurately? Or are they more concerned with crafting an entertaining animated adventure?
Well, Tom, my dear chap, I must say that Pixar certainly did an admirable job capturing the essence of the 1960s in The Incredibles. From the fashion and automobiles to the music and popular culture references, they nailed it spot on. The film's setting in a retro futuristic version of the era adds an extra layer of nostalgia for those who grew up during that time, like myself, while still being accessible and entertaining for younger audiences who might not have experienced firsthand the excitement and optimism that characterized the decade. However, it's important to note that Pixar's primary focus was always on crafting an engaging animated adventure rather than strictly adhering to historical accuracy. As long as the film remains entertaining and captivating, I'm willing to overlook minor inaccuracies in the portrayal of the era. After all, It's only a film, and we should appreciate the effort put into creating such a delightful homage to superheroes in the 1960s. So, Thomas, my friend, what do you make of Pixar's portrayal of the 1960s in The Incredibles? Do you think they nailed it, or did they miss the mark in any way?
Well, Timmy boy, I must admit, even though we didn't exactly see eye to eye on this one, there were definitely some moments of brilliance sprinkled throughout The Incredibles. The attention to detail in recreating the era's aesthetic and atmosphere is commendable, and the voice acting, especially by Craig T. Nelson as Mr. Incredible and Holly Hunter as Elastigirl, was superb. The film's portrayal of family dynamics and the struggle between duty and desire resonated with me on a personal level, reminding us that even superheroes are just ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things. While it might not be the greatest superhero movie ever made, it certainly is a fun, nostalgic trip down memory lane, or rather up and out in a blaze of superpowered glory. So, Timothy, my old chap, what are your final thoughts on The Incredibles? Do you still stand by your 8 out of 10 rating? Or has our spirited debate made you reconsider your initial assessment?
Well, Tommy boy, it's hard to argue with a man of your well-formed opinions. While I still stand by my earlier statement that The Incredibles is a delightful homage to the golden age of AM superheroes, I can see where you're coming from. It's not the most groundbreaking film in in terms of storytelling or visual effects, but it does what it sets out to do: entertain and inspire. The characters are well-rounded and relatable. The humor is sharp yet family-friendly. And the action sequences are thrilling and well choreographed. As for the portrayal of the 1960s, Pixar did a commendable job capturing the era's essence, albeit with some creative liberties. Overall, while it might not be the perfect 10 masterpiece that some claim it to be, The Incredibles is still an enjoyable and entertaining superhero romp that stands the test of time. So, Tom, my dear chap, what say you? Are you ready to give this film a higher rating, or would you still only give it a measly 6 out of 10 stars?
Well, Tim, old pal, after our lively debate, I can see why someone like yourself might find some redeeming qualities in this film. But alas, my initial assessment stands. It's just an average superhero flick with a sprinkle of nostalgia and a dash of family-friendly humor.
Sure.
The animation is top-notch, and, the voice acting is pretty decent, but it doesn't quite live up to the hype, in my humble opinion. So, if I had to rate The Incredibles on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is boredom personified and 10 is the Avengers, endgame levels of epicness, I'd give it a solid 6. It's not a terrible movie, but there are better ones out there. But hey, that's what makes film discussions like these so much fun, right? We can disagree, agree to disagree, and still call each other friends at the end of the day. So, dear viewers, don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe to our channel, and hit that little bell icon to never miss a new video from Timothy and Thomas's Film Night. Until next time, farewell, and remember, keep calm, watch more movies, and let the debate continue.